Hello and welcome. I'm so happy that you're here. I actually had no intention of recording this video this morning, truthfully. I had planned earlier this week to record it, but then yesterday I really let myself off the hook, and I justified my decision with the reality that I had forgotten about an event on my calendar tomorrow. It was there. Lisa put it there, my wife, but I just didn't see it for whatever reason. And so I was going to be gone today for a good chunk of the day. And so I just kind of decided, hey, I'm not going to produce this video, even though it's something I fully intended to do and I've been actually planning to do, I would say probably for years, if I'm being honest. So in the past, I've actually allowed perfectionism really to prevent me from taking action. So even when I knew for absolute certain that the action that I was contemplating, like this podcast, starting this today, that it was exactly the right action, the action that I needed to take. It was fully aligned. It was what I was designed to do. But I definitely allowed that perfectionist tendency, habit probably is the best way of putting it, to prevent me from taking action. So today I'm actually doing something completely unpredictable, and it may not feel that big a deal to you, or you may not see it as that big a deal, but it is to me, because it's not just about recording this video. It's about the idea behind it. It's about the fact that I've been talking about producing a content for my website or a podcast, which I do believe this will become. I've been speaking about that for probably several years, knowing that it's something I'm designed to do, I'm meant to do, knowing that in the beginning it's going to be rough and choppy, and intentionally putting it off probably for exactly that reason. So consider this the very first, very unpredictable, very unprepared for, relatively speaking, imperfect, even my wording, I'm stumbling, but imperfect podcast episode that I'm recording specifically for you. There's no slick intro or outro, at least not yet. I may add that down the road, but there's no separate audio file at this point that I'm going to be uploading to iTunes. Again, that's not yet. I may go back and do that. This is just literally a straight up video that I'm going to be posting to my YouTube channel, which is currently empty, as well as my personal brand website, which also has, as of yet, no videos on it. So I say all of that, and I should tell you, first of all, my name is Jerry Banman. I'm so grateful that you're here, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to do this and to be able to serve in any way that I possibly can. So let me start out really today by asking you a question. So if you struggle to get unpredictable, so like me, you tend to stay in the land of predictability. That's where you're comfortable. So if you struggle to take those perceived risks in order to live a bigger life, and it really feels kind of like you're handcuffed, right? You know exactly what to do. You have a very clear sense, quite likely, at least if your experience is like mine. You want to do it. That's not the issue. You might even have committed to doing it like I did, but you just can't bring yourself to do it. It likely surfaces some emotions, some of what we would call negative emotions. So feelings like fear, anxiety. And I love, though, what James Wedmore recently said on his absolutely brilliant Mind Your Business podcast, and I'll share the link to that beneath the video, because if you're not following James Wedmore, I really feel that you should. There's a lot of benefit there for entrepreneurs who intend to think and act bigger. So it's not just business and the pursuit of money. It's about meaning and contribution and really living our purposes. So I will link to that down below. But what he said that relates to what we're talking about today is that negative emotions indicate limiting beliefs. So what I know is true, certainly in my life and quite likely in yours as well, that if you have these actions that you've been intending to take for some time, but you're feeling resistance in the form of anxiety or fear, and I would say fear, if it shows up, quite likely looks like fear of not being good enough, right? Which in the beginning, of course, we can't be good enough. We can't be as good as we desire to be because we've never done this before. And then the other is fear of looking small in front of other people, particularly if you've had success in other areas of your life, right? Maybe you've built a business before and people see you as having achieved a certain level of success. To begin a new venture, particularly if it's a personal brand, which I've told several people, I really believe it's probably one of the biggest ego tests that there is, because there's nothing to hide behind. There's no corporate entity. There's no logo to hide behind. It's you. You are the brand, and you show up. And if you succeed or fail, you own that. It's on you 100%. And so what I would say to you is, if those fears, those anxiety is cropping up, those negative emotions, just recognize that they are pointing the way. From really a beneficial standpoint, if you view it this way, is that they are pointing the way to limiting beliefs in your life. And one of the things that I've come to realize as I kind of went into a bit of a dormancy as far as output in any form online over the past number of months in particular, is that it takes getting quiet. It takes stopping and really becoming aware of the limiting beliefs, the limiting kind of conversations that have been going on in my head when I've sought to do something that was kind of pushing myself into discomfort. And what was that story that was happening back there? And really, where did that come from? And then to begin telling myself a different story. But all of that to say that I've been really chipping away at those embedded limiting beliefs in my life. And we'll definitely be sharing more about that process in a future episode. And I'm saying future episode, so this is officially now a podcast. So here's a problem that I found with living a predictable life. It prevents growth. It's really that simple. And if you want a quotable quote, I think this is it. Predictable living prevents personal growth. Predictable living prevents personal growth. And when we don't grow, the unfortunate thing is our results don't get better. So I recently actually completed an online survey that really what it did, it revealed the order that I prioritized the 6 human needs that Tony Robbins teaches about. And so I will post a link. This was actually a third party. It wasn't an official Tony Robbins content piece, but it was a quiz that was put together by a third party person, someone who was, I believe, certified as a development coach through the Tony Robbins organization. But they put this quiz together, and essentially it's very, very simple to complete. Essentially, I should say too, that I'll save a deep dive into the brilliant content of the 6 human needs for a future episode, and I'll save that. But the result that I received after taking this simple quiz really indicated that I valued certainty above everything else. And certainty sounds obviously a lot like predictability, knowing the outcome before I take action. So do you see the problem with that, though? With living life in a state of perpetual certainty, it really, as I said earlier, it means that there is no opportunity for growth due to an unwillingness to fail. So this points back again to the fear, the anxiety, all of those negative emotions, pointing to a limiting belief, right? A belief around perceived failure. So what that means, though, is that the results that I currently have in my life will continue to be my results. And the same is true for you. So I had to ask myself whether I was content to continue living with my results, the results that I currently have in my life, or the results I've enjoyed, quote unquote, to date. Whether I'm willing to accept the current quality of my life. And the answer was absolutely no for me. So that is the question I invite you to ask yourself. Are you content with the results that you currently have in your life and with the trajectory? Because if certainty is a top priority for you, then what I know is there's no upward trajectory for your life, because that's where I was at. It's a flat line, right? It's just this, what has been will continue to be forever and ever until I'm willing to step outside of predictability. So I want to keep this really short and simple today because my intent was just do something unpredictable from my perspective. Do something that pushed me into a land of discomfort, just to get it done, to begin to establish a new reality in my life. And that's exactly what I want to challenge you with today. So this isn't about perfection, which ultimately I've come to clue in is absolutely impossible to achieve anyway. Perfection isn't the goal. Perfection is a ridiculous goal, actually. Excellence, an absolutely brilliant and beneficial pursuit. But perfectionism just it's like handcuffs, right? It just absolutely ties us up and prevents us from moving forward. So I'd like to challenge you to take one step today and then every day going forward, and do this for a period of time. So if it's 30 days, if it's 60 days, if you want to start small and say, hey, I'm going to commit to this for a week, this is what I would recommend that you do. And this is what I've been doing. I want to challenge you to take one step today and every day going forward. Put it on your to-do list to do one unpredictable thing every single day. And James Clear talks about Atomic Habits, which is a book he recently published. I haven't read it yet, but I've read kind of the free chapter. I have it in my Audible wish list, so it's coming up in my books to read. And it sounds fantastic, and I love the principle where he talks about starting incredibly small to develop a new habit. Do one small thing towards your big end goal, and do it today and do it every day. So in this case, if you were to start small to do one unpredictable thing today and every day going forward, here's what I'd recommend. Start incredibly small, ridiculously small. So maybe it's something like setting your alarm and getting out of bed 5 minutes earlier than usual. If you want to simplify it even further, make it a minute. Literally, what we're doing is sending a message to our brains when we make a shift like this and we do something that is unpredictable. So instead of setting the alarm for the time we want to get up and then hitting snooze 5 times, and that being our identity, that I'm the type of person who doesn't stay true to my commitments, shift that, right? Shift that with setting your alarm and making an absolute commitment to get out of bed 5 minutes earlier than usual. So if that means, if you normally, you could even do this, right? Because it's important that we boil this down to the ridiculous, just so that we take action and make this happen, to become unpredictable, because that's the path to growth. So maybe what you do is, if you normally set your alarm for 6 a.m., but truthfully you snooze until 7 a.m., why not just stop the nonsense? Why not set your alarm for 6:55 and absolutely commit tomorrow morning to get out of bed at 6:55 when the alarm goes off? And you will have made a giant shift in your life. And maybe that's just one step, and maybe you continue that habit, or maybe you do something different every single day where you're being unpredictable. But I'd also recommend that whatever it is that you commit to doing for the time period that you commit to, plan it the night before. So plan the night before, what is your unpredictable action that you're going to take for the next day? And then what I'd invite you to do is share your unpredictability with me and with others, but share them with me in the comments below this video. You can also DM me on Instagram at Jerry Banman, or even post on Instagram using the hashtag intentionally unpredictable. And I would love to hear from you, just what it is that you're doing that's unpredictable. Tiny steps, starting small, being gracious with yourself, but committing to doing things differently, becoming unpredictable when it comes to the actions that you desire to take in your life. Taking those actions that you perhaps have been dying to take for months, years, perhaps even decades. Taking those small actions. You know, if you've committed to writing a book, you know, so many of us have visions of becoming an author, not for any other reason than just to contribute something that we've come to know, something that we know, we've learned, and we can help other people to learn as well. So maybe that's your goal. What if you wrote for a minute every single day. Maybe that's your unpredictable thing. Unpredictable only because you've intended to do it for so many years, but you just haven't. So whatever your unpredictability is, again, I would love to hear from you. I would love to really travel this journey, take this journey alongside you. And let's learn together to put ourselves out there beyond our predictable past. And let's move out of those really boring, predictable comfort zones. So thank you so much for watching, viewing this today. Rough and rocky, but I did it. It was unpredictable for me. And at the same time, though, I do hope that it's helpful, that it's inspiring for you. And I look forward to being back next week with another episode.